Hi, my name is Delaney. Today I'm going to be introducing my persuasion speech for my class, Fundamentals of Oral Communication, for my professor Edward Clark Skaggs, for Kirkwood Community College, Fundamentals of Oral Communication. And my speech today is over why college athletes should be able to get paid. How many of you think that athletes should be paid? Well, as a college athlete, I believe that we should. Being a college athlete is literally a full-time job, from bouncing from the weight room to the court, from field sessions, classes, and trust me, it's a lot more. Like some of you, I am a college athlete, and college athletes commit an extremely large amount of time and energy into their team and their sport, and often bringing in a lot of money for their school. Some may argue that college athletes who receive scholarships are well off. However, paying students athletes for their contributions to the colleges should be vital. Today I'd like to talk about the importance of student athletes being paid due to the severe injuries that sports can cause, the countless hours of training, and the money made due to students athletes and by colleges. Now, let's start with the injuries. Many college athletes are injured while playing these very vital sports, such as football injuries in the NCAA. 7.4% are concussions, 4.3% are head, face, and neck injuries, 16.3% are upper limb injuries, 11.9% are torso and pelvic injuries, and it's really crazy, but at this really big number, 50.4% are lower limb injuries, and many of these players can even die from heat stroke. When student athletes are injured, there's typically emotional responses, meaning sadness, isolation, irritation, lack of motivation, anger, frustration, changes in appetite, sleep disturbance, disengaged, they're not wanting to do anything, very lazy, tired, more of in their own head, and knowing that the fact that they are injured, so they feel like they can't do as much as they can anymore. For an example, Kenny McClinney was a wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, and he was found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound September of 2010 after growing despondent from a following knee injury. CTE, a chronic traumatic encephalopathy, sorry if I mispronounced that, develops permanent neurodegenerative disease. So, meaning of that, CTE is the fact that after you get an injury, it can also damage your nerves as well, to where it can make you not even able to play this sport anymore. Another type of injury could be overuse of injuries, found in most often in low contact sports that involve training and repetition of similar movement. So as an example, such as tennis, it's really a low contact sport. You're not having any contact with any other player. Another one could be such as swimming. 30% of all injuries sustained by collegiate athletes, physical and psychological challenge occurs, affecting recovery and their performance. So the fact that knowing that they are injured, it's just like how I stated before, it is very mental, especially with being hurt and doing something that you really love. Just imagine as working. When you are hurt or you're sick or you're not feeling good, you don't feel like you can give your all at work. So knowing that when you're sick, it lasts a little bit shorter than an actual injury. So just have the whole thought process of how these students, how they sit here and they play these sports that they love, they cannot do it because of their injury. Most of these injuries come from the hours and hours of training spent into these type of sports. Another type of injury that can come from college athletes could be countless hours of training. There's so much training and so much work that you have to do, especially being a college athlete. Yes, it was kind of easier in high school how you can just slide through it, but college is way harder. Trust me, it really is. 40 hours a week practicing, it leaves little time to keep up with academic commitments in comparison to a full-time job. A lot of these students are very distracted from what they have to do because they're so focused on their sports. Like, for example, me. I'm very focused on all of my sports to where I'm so committed to my sport, which was basketball, to where there's been times where I had to miss class, homework assignments, and it really sucks, and it kills people. How the fact that they can do something that they love, but at the end of the day, there's something that they always have to work on. Some student athletes are prohibited from pursuing their career meaning. An example as Kane Coulter from Northwestern quarterback. He testified that visions kept him pursuing a dream of becoming a doctor in favor of easier classes for the football schedule. Now, do I feel like you should have easier classes because of your sports schedule? No, because I feel like at the end of the day, if you do want to still pursue your whole career, you would do whatever it takes to get there. And the fact that being a college athlete, it helps you so much because it pays for all of your school. So it helps so much. Like, it's such a big handful that college can sit here and pay for my schooling, knowing that people have their dreams, and if you really want to pursue that dream, then you can do whatever it is to get it done. Another example can be as two former UNC students, well, student athletes, they did a whole lawsuit, and they claimed that they were deprived from a meaningful education because of the fact that they missed so many classes and all their homework assignments and big tests because of their sports. Now, the average D1 men basketball missed 2.2 classes per week during their basketball season, and 21% of basketball players miss more than 3 classes per week during the session of their whole basketball season. It's no matter what that the federal graduation rate for D1's men's basketball players was only 48% in 2017. The rate for all students was only 66%. So knowing that the fact that a little bit over half of people that are in college and these students, they're graduating, but it's so much less of a percentage for college athletes because of the fact that they're not getting caught up on their work, or they don't have enough time to finish because they're always traveling for their basketball games or whatever type of sport event that they participate in. All of this time, students and student athletes are basically getting taken advantage of because they sit here and they go to college and people have these big roles for them to go through and that they have to complete, kind of like a task. So now that the fact that they're practicing every day and then they have a lot of pressure on them, especially if they're a better team, like, but not only if the better teams, like even the least, like not really the okay teams around there, like they still practice hard as well as that, but then there's a lot of part when you're going to the national tournament and you're going to these big tournaments and championships, like you have so much more to put in. And I wasn't really focused either, especially as speaking as a college athlete myself. So when those big games did come around, I was not focused on schoolwork as much as I was because I was so stressed out and worried on my main topic, and that was me focusing on basketball. But then at the end of the day, you should have to remember that these student athletes are still students first. So I feel like they need to sit down and be able to relax and take that extra time out of their day, whatever they have left, to work on their homework or do everything that they need to do. Money made off the students athletes by colleges is so big, especially these big NCAA schools where they go into these big, the Final Four and the Final Eight and all these big tournaments to get these teams in these schools national championships. It's really big because they sit here and they bring multiple fans in from the crowds, and then you have the student section, you have people and their families. They make a lot of money off of these games. Just last year, the NCAA earned $1.6 billion in revenue, eclipsing the first billion mark for the first time, vast majority from deep TV deals. So even like when these students and they sit here and they go into commercials, so when they're in deals and they're sitting here consistently playing on the TV, on ESPN, when they're getting replayed and replayed and replayed and they're getting shown everywhere to the world, they make so much money for their school, including for the people who give other types of endorsements and the people who really give money and they volunteer for the school. If colleges make this much money simply off of sports programs, why can't they proportion some of this money and be distributed to the athletes, since they are the ones providing the entertainment? Just because of the fact that they are the ones getting all these fans, they are the ones bringing in this money for their school. So I feel like even, well, not necessarily half, but even just a little bit of the money that they make from all these market deals, I feel like these students should be able to have. Some university athletic departments make more than just $100 million. Now that is really a lot of money, especially from your sports program. Annually, why athletes are compensated solely with scholarships. So I have got a scholarship. It was, I think it was the African American scholarship, and that helps as well pay for my school, even though that Kirkwood Community College is paying for my basketball, my schooling, and everything as well as that, and I'm very grateful for. But there's a lot more scholarships that can be given to you, especially if you're a college athlete. Like even some of the crazy ones, just being left-handed, you get a scholarship. Being African American, you get a scholarship. Having these different cultural differences is like you can sit here and you can get multiple scholarships. You just have to be wanting to do it. There is no evidence to suggest that athletes being compensated fairly on market value could compromise an educational mission. In closing, it's easy to see why college athletes should be paid. College athletes have a full-time workload from working academically to their performance on their court and field, just as your normal professionals do. They practice every day, they work every day, they do a lot of the stuff that normal people do, other than the people that you sit and you watch on the NFL and the NBA and these really big sports teams. Like, they do the exact same thing that what professionals do. So why can't we get paid for it too as well? Therefore, college athletes should be paid as well. College athletes do not need salaries or monthly paychecks, even though the NCAA runs just like any other professional sports league. They should simply be allowed to operate within the free market like anyone else in America, because they are still putting in this time to sit here and work hard to get these type of investments in their school and themselves as well. Schools can pay what they want, and athletes should be able to sign endorsements for their own likeness, such as LeBron James. Even though he didn't go to college, he went from straight to the league, he still was able to sit there and sign endorsements. But if you think of it like Zion Williamson from Duke, he just now is able to sign endorsements because he had got drafted into the league, just like RJ Barrett and Trey Jones as well, all from Duke. I'm not saying that we should be sitting here paying athletes $5,000 or even $10,000 per semester. I'm not trying to put it like that. But I still feel like for all the work that each athlete goes through, I feel like if they were just to get paid $2,000 over the course of the semester, this will give them some spending money and an opportunity to start managing their money. And that was from Tyson Harnett. But not only as if they do get $2,000 per semester, it's not only for spending money, but it is for their own costs, meaning for their groceries or whatever they do that they're in their apartment, when they need gas in their car, the little bit of time that they get to travel from when they are not traveling from basketball games or events. It just helps a lot knowing that the fact that a lot of these college athletes, including myself, cannot work. So it's 10 times worse of the fact that now at Kirkwood, we live in our own apartments and you have to pay rent, and then you have to pay for your groceries, and then you're getting your gas from going to practice and film and meetings and shoot around. It's just so much, and it's so much stress on players now at the fact that we don't get paid. And I feel like we should, just because we out here, we are sitting here and we live our lives just as an actual person with a full-time job. So I feel like if we were to sit here and commit all of our time and everything, our energy, our passion, our drive, anything into this whole sport, and we sit here and we work super hard and we have the ability to get paid and have these type of endorsements, I really feel like we should be able to get paid. I'm Delaney Harris. That is my persuasion speech for Professor Edward Clark Skaggs for Fundamentals of Oral Communication. Thank you.